The Black Templars stand as one of the most formidable and distinctive chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, renowned for their unwavering zeal, relentless crusading spirit, and unorthodox practices that often clash with the established norms of the Imperium. Born from the gene seed of the imperial fists and founded during the tumultuous period following the Horus Heresy, the Black Templars have carved a niche for themselves within the universe. Their history is characterized by a deliberate independence from the Codex Astartes, the foundational tome outlining the organization and conduct of Space Marine chapters, leading to a unique operational structure and cultural ethos that frequently defies the expectations set forth by the Adeptus Astartes. From their inception, the Black Templars embraced a crusading mentality, prioritizing the relentless pursuit of the Emperor's enemies over adherence to the regulations imposed by the Codex Astartes. One of the most significant examples of their defiance lies in their rejection of the Codex's mandate to maintain a specific number of battle companies and to establish a fortress monastery. Instead of forming a centralized base of operations, the Black Templars opted to create keeps on each world they conquered, a strategy that reflects their commitment to mobility and the ongoing nature of their crusades. This approach allows them to maintain a constant presence across multiple war zones, ensuring that they remain engaged in the Emperor's service at all times. Moreover, the Black Templars typically organize themselves into a multitude of crusade forces, each commanded by a marshal. This structure starkly contrasts the Codex Astartes, which typically divides chapters into a set number of companies. The Black Templars often deploy more than 3 crusade forces simultaneously, a blatant disregard for the Codex's guidelines. During times of crisis, this number can swell even further, resulting in large, powerful formations that operate independently of standard operational protocols. Notably, their first chapter master, High Marshal Sigismund, initiated this trend by leading a massive war fleet during the longest crusade in the history of the Imperium, which has persisted for over 10,000 standard years. Despite these clear violations, the Black Templars have faced no punitive measures from the Imperium. This lack of repercussions illustrates a larger systemic issue within the Imperium, an abysmally governed archaic bureaucracy that often bends its own laws to suit the needs of its various factions. The Black Templars' successes on the battlefield and their unwavering loyalty to the Emperor have effectively shielded them from scrutiny, allowing them to operate with a degree of autonomy rarely granted to other chapters. The Imperium of Man is characterized by an overwhelming bureaucracy, one that is both convoluted and outdated. The Codex Astartes itself, while intended as a guide for the organization and conduct of Space Marine chapters, is often subject to interpretation and manipulation. This ambiguity allows chapters like the Black Templars to exploit loopholes and bend the rules without fear of retribution. Additionally, the overarching governance of the Imperium is fraught with inconsistencies. Decisions made by the High Lords of Terror often reflect the interests of powerful factions rather than a cohesive strategy for the Imperium's survival. This leads to a situation where certain chapters receive preferential treatment, while others are harshly punished for far lesser transgressions. The case of the Black Templars illustrates this disparity. Their military prowess have afforded them a level of immunity that less successful chapters do not enjoy. Moreover, the notion of the Imperium's laws being subject to interpretation is exemplified by the treatment of rogue inquisitors or other agents who operate outside the normal boundaries of imperial law. These individuals often act with impunity, guided by their interpretation of the Emperor's will, much like the Black Templars who interpret their crusading missions as divine mandates. This selective enforcement of the law undermines the stability of the Imperium and contributes to an environment where independent action is both tolerated and occasionally encouraged, provided it serves the interests of the Imperium. The Black Templars represent a loyalist chapter of the second founding of Space Marines, originating from the gene seed of the Imperial Fists and their primarch, Rogel Dawn. Their roots lie in the valiant defense of Terra by the Imperial Fists during the Horus Heresy. Since that pivotal moment, the Black Templars have embarked on the longest crusade ever undertaken in the name of the Imperium of Man. Remarkably, the Black Templars venerate the Emperor as a literal deity, akin to the mortal followers of the imperial cult, which distinguishes them from their fellow Adeptus Astartes. Following the Horus heresy, Rogel Dawn, the primarch of the Imperial Fists, opposed the fragmentation of the Space Marine legions into smaller chapters. It was only when the Imperial Fists teetered on the brink of being labelled heretics that Dawn acquiesced, permitting his cherished legion to be divided into chapters. Among these nascent formations was the Black Templars. To affirm their fidelity to the Emperor in the aftermath of the Imperial Fists' resistance to the Second Founding, the inaugural chapter. Master of the Black Templars, High Marshal Sigismund, mustered a strong war fleet and initiated the most extensive Space Marine crusade in the history of the Imperium, a campaign that has endured for 10,000 standard years. Instead of establishing a dedicated chapter homeworld, the Black Templars took to the cosmos with their vast war fleet. Eschewing the construction of a singular fortress monastery, as is customary among most Space Marine chapters, they resolved to create a chapter keep on each world they conquered. This strategy served to monitor for treachery, orchestrate future crusades, and recruit new battle brothers. Over the course of their millennia-spanning imperial crusade, the Black Templars have engaged in some of the most significant conflicts that have swept through the Imperium. Subsequent High Marshals have emulated the path of their founder, directing their forces against aliens, heretics, and witches alike. The Black Templars are unwavering crusaders and holy warriors, striving to spread the truth and illumination of the Emperor to the galaxy's unclaimed worlds. Armed with bolt shells and chainswords, the Black Templars seek to convert the lost to the light of the Master of Mankind, while obliterating those who reject his truth. Each crusade is led by the will of the commanding marshal, and each is dispatched under the authority of the High Marshal, dedicated to their primary mission of purging the stars. The Black Templars stand as the most renowned example of a crusading chapter within the Imperium. Their doctrines, traditions, and organizational structure embody their unique approach to waging war for the Imperium. The chapter is segmented into a flexible number of self-sufficient and highly mobile units referred to as Crusades, each led by an officer known as a marshal, whose rank is comparable to that of a captain in a Codex Astartes compliant chapter, with the High Marshal as their only superior. Typically, the chapter maintains no more than 3 separate crusade forces, though in times of great calamity, this number can increase significantly. These crusade forces are substantial entities, often further divided into tactical units known as fighting companies, analogous to standard Codex Astartes companies. Each fighting company is commanded by an officer titled Castellan, equivalent to a lieutenant in Codex-compliant chapters. Upon successfully concluding a campaign for which a crusade force was assembled, the various fighting companies may be reassigned to new missions, redeployed to bolster existing crusades in the field, or occasionally consolidated into the High Marshal's household until a new crusade force is formed. Every crusade force is assembled from the available fighting companies to confront a specific enemy, cleanse a particular region of space, or achieve a set objective. While many of these military campaigns are strategically devised and executed by the chapter itself, guided by the insights of its current High Marshal and senior officers, others arise from requests submitted by various institutions within the Imperium. Typically, the High Marshal of the Black Templars is approached only by the highest-ranking petitioners, those holding warrants from the Senatorum Imperialis, thereby acting with the direct authority of the High Lords of Terror and the Emperor himself. Occasionally, the High Marshal may consent to consider the appeals of especially prominent inquisitors or well-regarded rogue traders, even though he is under no legal compulsion to provide assistance to such figures. Throughout its storied history, the chapter has often allied with other esteemed imperial organizations, forging a complex web of mutual obligations and honor. The Black Templars' inclination to initiate crusades is not merely a matter of historical legacy or tradition, it is a profound aspect of their identity. Established during the Second Founding from those Imperial Fists, Battle Brothers most inclined toward aggressive and daring warfare, they carry within them the indelible marks of the Horus heresy, a relentless drive to perpetuate the Great Crusade and seek retribution against the treachery of the traitor legions. It is possible that these battle brothers were among the most recently recruited from the old legion, their fervent zeal untempered by the rigorous experience that characterized the esteemed imperial fists. Nevertheless, the spirit of those initial Black Templars was embedded in the new chapter from its inception, and the processes through which their gene seed was cultivated ensured this fervor was passed down through generations on a genetic level. Through a potent blend of raw zeal, genetic enhancements, relentless psycho-conditioning, and the continual reinforcement of the chapter's rich histories and battle honors, each battle brother embodies the archetype of the crusading warrior knight, ignited by righteous fury and motivated to avenge every grievance inflicted upon the Imperium of man by every traitor, fiend, and alien that has ever existed. During the Siege of Terror, amidst the tumult of the Horus heresy, numerous champions of chaos emerged from the ranks of the traitor Marines. In this critical juncture, Rogel Dawn, the Primarch of the Imperial Fists, appointed the first captain, Sigismund, to serve as the Emperor's champion. Sigismund was equipped with the finest armor and weaponry available to the Legion, and he vowed a sacred oath to seek out and annihilate the malevolent champions of chaos. He fulfilled this vow by challenging over 20 enemy leaders to duels, ultimately vanquishing them or banishing them back into the Imperium. Following the conclusion of the Horus heresy, the Space Marine legions were restructured into smaller entities known as chapters, each consisting of 1,000 Astartes. This reorganization was part of a broader strategy to distribute the power of the Imperial Armed Forces, ensuring that no single individual could exert the same level of influence over the Space Marines as the War Master Horus had. Rogel Dawn, as the Primarch responsible for safeguarding the Emperor's homeworld, Terror initially resisted the fragmentation of his legion. He clashed with his fellow Primarch Guilliman over this matter, accusing the Ultramarines' leader of cowardice. In response, Guilliman accused Dawn of heresy and disloyalty to the Emperor, while Primarch Leman Russ of the Space Wolves and Vulcan of the Salamanders sided with Dawn. Jagatai Khan of the White Scars and Korax of the Raven Guard lent their support to Guilliman's perspective. It was only after the Imperial Navy launched an assault on the Imperial Fists strike cruiser, Terrible Angel, and the spectre of a renewed civil war loomed between Dawn's legion and the newly established successor. Chapters of the other first founding legions that he ultimately agreed to the division of the Imperial Fists. Zeal makes all things possible. Duty makes all things simple. Sigismund, first captain, Legio Astartes, Imperial Fists. Among the earliest successor chapters of the Imperial Fists, the Black Templars have evolved into one of the largest and most formidable Space Marine chapters. Following the second founding, the remaining Imperial Fists were divided into 4 distinct chapters. The younger warriors formed the Crimson Fists, while those selected by Dawn continued as the Imperial Fists. The orbital assault specialists were mistakenly believed to have joined the notorious Soul Drinkers chapter. The 4th successor chapter, stemming from the Imperial Fists, became the Black Templars. Sigismund, appointed as the inaugural chapter master of the Black Templars, took with him the most fervent of his Imperial Fists brethren, donning the black and white livery of his armor, and set forth on an imperial crusade to demonstrate their unwavering loyalty to the Emperor. Rejecting the Codex Astartes, Sigismund viewed the foundational document authored by Guilliman as a slight against the teachings of his Primarch Rogel Dawn. Instead, he led his warriors into the vastness of space, confronting the enemies of the Imperium head-on. In the centuries that followed, the chapter has diverged even more dramatically from the established principles of the Adeptus Astartes. By embracing their faith and recognizing the divinity of the God Emperor, the Black Templars have cultivated an intense fervor and aggressive zealotry. This departure from traditional doctrine unsettles many of their fellow Space Marine chapters, yet their commitment to the annihilation of humanity's foes remains unquestionable. Sigismund vowed to prove his loyalty never resting in the prosecution of his duties against the enemies of the Emperor. This oath has been reaffirmed by each succeeding High Marshal, resulting in the longest Space Marine crusade in the annals of the Imperium. For over 10,000 years it has forged a path through the stars, notably emerging prominently during the tumultuous wars for Armageddon. To the darkness I bring fire, to the ignorant I bring faith. Those who welcome these gifts may live, but I will visit naught but death on those who refuse them. Chaplain Merrick Grimaldus. The Black Templars do not possess a chapter homeworld. Instead, they reside within their crusade fleets. Perpetually vigilant, they remain ever prepared for battle. They do establish chapter keeps on each world they conquer or reclaim for the Imperium, serving both as recruitment centers and as staging grounds for their crusade fleets operating throughout the galaxy. They are known to sometimes abandon these keeps, only to return later and reclaim them, typically annihilating any unfortunate souls who have settled in their absence. Each crusade fleet is commanded by an officer bearing the title of Marshal, which is equivalent to a captain or force commander in a Codex Astartes compliant chapter. The chapter master, referred to as the High Marshal, currently High Marshal Helbrecht, navigates between crusades aboard his personal flagship, the battle barge Eternal Crusader. At any given time there are typically at least 3 Black Templar crusades in operation, although there was a period when 14 were known to the Imperium, particularly during the infamous treachery of Dalmark. The size of each crusade can vary, ranging from 100 Space Marines and their supporting fleet to multiple companies organized according to the Codex Astartes. It is said that only the High Marshal possesses comprehensive knowledge of the Black Templars' total strength, but rumors within the Inquisition suggest that their numbers may approach 6,000 Space Marines. This figure would position them nearly on par with some of the original first founding Space Marine legions, especially after the devastating losses sustained during the Horus Heresy. Thus, the Black Templars are one of only 3 Astartes chapters, alongside the Space Wolves and the Grey Knights, believed to breach the Codex Astartes stipulation of 1,000 Space Marines per chapter. Such a unified force would be nearly unstoppable within the Imperium of the 41st millennium. The potential size of the Black Templars has drawn the scrutiny of certain Puritan factions within the Inquisition. Each Space Marine chapter is traditionally limited to approximately 1,000 Astartes, a mandate established by the Imperial Regent Guilliman following the Horus Heresy to prevent any single individual from wielding enough military might to instigate another rebellion against the Emperor. The Black Templars' unwavering loyalty to the Emperor, coupled with the inability of any Inquisitor to substantiate claims of their unusually large standing forces, has shielded them from further inquiries regarding their true numbers. However, this has not deterred the Inquisition from persistently seeking to uncover the hidden strength of the Black Templars. The larger Black Templar crusades comprise several fighting companies, each commanded by a sword brethren elevated to the rank of Castellan, which is analogous to a lieutenant in a Codex-compliant chapter. The most substantial crusades are typically spearheaded by the High Marshal himself, as exemplified by High Marshal Helbrecht during the Armageddon Crusade of the Third War for Armageddon. Due to the fluid nature of the squads within each fighting company, which often form and dissolve based on necessity, members tend to engage in battle together out of camaraderie and familiarity, rather than strict organizational structure. Typically, these squads consist of 5 to 10 initiates, fully fledged Black Templar battle brothers, alongside a similar number of neophytes, Black Templars in training. There are no sergeants in these squads, as experienced members are swiftly promoted to the rank of sword brethren, assuming the duties of non-commissioned officers. The Black Templars favor close combat tactics, resulting in a reluctance to employ heavy ranged weaponry. Consequently, Devastator squads are notably scarce among the Astartes of this chapter. One of the primary divergences of the Black Templars from Codex Astartes compliant chapters, including the Imperial Fists, lies in their intense aversion to mutants and a deep-seated distrust of the warp and its manifestations. This ideology leads to the absence of librarians and a librarius within the chapter. The only Imperial psychers that the Black Templars accept as allies are the Grey Knights, renowned for their incorruptibility and genetic connection to the Emperor. The Black Templars' profound revulsion towards combating alongside those tainted by the Imperium typically precludes them from forming alliances with individuals possessing psychic abilities. However, they make an exception for the Grey Knights, considering it a privilege to fight alongside Astartes chosen directly by the Emperor, who carry a fragment of his genetic legacy and have never succumbed to the temptations of chaos, a feat that even the fervent Black Templars cannot claim. This stance on psychers can present difficulties for those Black Templars selected to serve in the Death Watch, as they must adapt to working alongside the librarians of other chapters within their kill teams. The Black Templars function as a fleet-based chapter, with their companies dispersed throughout the galaxy, engaged in numerous crusades. Each crusade is commanded by a marshal, while a singular High Marshal oversees the progress of all ongoing crusades. The Black Templars' Order of Battle features several specialized formations and ranks absent in other Space Marine chapters, adhering to the Codex Astartes. The High Marshal stands as the highest-ranking Astartes within the Black Templars, equivalent to the chapter master of Codex-compliant chapters. His combat prowess is unparalleled, whether wielding bolters, blades, or fighting bare-handed, a testament to his bloody history marked by vanquished foes of the most terrifying nature. However, being the chapter's foremost warrior is not sufficient. He must also be an exceptional tactician and strategist, grounded in the teachings of his predecessors and refined through countless decisions made amidst the chaos of battle. He is well versed in the lore of the Black Templars, privy to all of the chapter's secrets. The High Marshal serves as the supreme commander of the chapter's ongoing crusades, meticulously tracking their overall progress and making strategic decisions regarding the deployment of forces, while occasionally blessing individual crusades with his inspirational presence. He ranks among the most autonomous military commanders within the Imperium, dictating his warriors' actions without needing to defer to the High Lords of Terror. Marshals are the distinguished warriors who lead the Black Templars' individual crusades, equivalent to captains in Codex-compliant chapters. These fierce Space Marines possess remarkable tactical acumen, second only to the High Marshal himself. The purity and success of a crusade rests on the shoulders of the Marshal, making this role both sacred and glorious. Not only is a Marshal a formidable warrior, rarely finding a worthy opponent on the battlefield, but he also possesses expertise beyond mere combat, as leading a crusade is an immense responsibility. Consequently, only the most inspirational and resolute warriors ascend to the rank of Marshal, having proven their mettle within the Sword Brethren or as Castellans commanding a fighting company. Marshals have the capability to coordinate the Space Marines under their command, guiding their crusades to eventual victory against any opposition. The rank of Castellan is a unique officer designation within the Black Templars, comparable to a lieutenant in a Codex-compliant chapter. A Castellan leads an entire fighting company of the chapter in the heat of battle during the numerous ongoing crusades. Larger Black Templar crusades often comprise several fighting companies, each under the command of a Sword Brethren promoted to Castellan. Only those Sword Brethren who have demonstrated themselves as devoted warriors and inspirational leaders attain this prestigious rank. These seasoned veterans have earned their position through a bloody and zealous commitment to the chapter's cause. As masters of the battlefield, Castellans can read its dynamics, adjusting their tactical formations as needed. Leading from the front, Castellans embody the spirit of the Black Templars and serve as exemplars of dedicated warriors for both Sigismund and the Emperor. Under their guidance, their fellow Astartes learn the art of battle and the craft of death. The Sword Brethren represent the elite members of a standard Codex-compliant chapter's veteran First Company, the greatest warriors within a Black Templar crusade who are inducted into the Marshal's retinue. No longer tasked with training neophytes, these veterans receive additional training, particularly in the use of tactical dreadnought armor. Upon completing this training, Sword Brethren don Terminator armor whenever it is available, typically favoring melee weapons, a combat area in which the Black Templars excel. Similar to most Black Templars, they often engage in battle alongside familiar comrades rather than in strictly organized squads, always positioning themselves at the forefront of the conflict. Should the Marshal of a crusade be killed or elevated to High Marshal of the chapter, one of the Sword Brethren will ascend to take his place. This promotion is determined through ritual combat, with the victor earning the right to become a Marshal, pending the approval of the High Marshal. There has been only one instance in Black Templar history where the High Marshal withheld or reversed such approval, the Gervart repeal of the 36th millennium. Sword Brethren typically adorn themselves with cream-coloured cloaks, featuring red trim on their black pauldrons, to signify their elite status. At the zenith of the Siege of Terror during the Horus Heresy, Captain Sigismund, the first captain of the Imperial Fists Legion, was entrusted by his Primarch Rogel Dawn with leading the ground forces while the Emperor Dawn and Sanguinius launched an assault on the traitor Warmaster's battle barge. Sigismund was designated as the Emperor's Champion, a title also associated with Dawn, thus establishing a new tradition that the Black Templars, Sigismund's direct descendants, honour to this day. As the Master of Mankind and his Gene sons teleported to confront Horus, Sigismund took charge of the remaining warriors, not merely as a general but as a paragon, engaging the enemy directly and inspiring the defenders through his valiant actions. He sought out the mightiest warriors among the enemy's ranks, confronting intimidating Chaos Space Marine leaders and towering fiends from the abyss, vanquishing each adversary in turn. Sigismund earned the title of Emperor's Champion due to his unwavering devotion to the Father of Mankind, the Imperium, and the great crusade that forged it, epitomizing the ideals of the Legiones Astartes. The oath he took upon accepting the mantle of Emperor's Champion has resonated through the ages, carrying a weight that can never be broken. While Sigismund's beloved Emperor fell on that fateful day, the Emperor's Champion triumphed, leading to Horus's defeat and the rout of the vile forces on the surface. Later, when the Imperial Fists were divided into chapters, Sigismund's fervent zeal was acknowledged, and he became the first High Marshal of the Black Templars, embodying the belief that the Great Crusade would never cease, a reality reflected in the chapter's perpetual crusades. Since the Siege of Terror, it has become a cherished tradition among the Black Templars to name one individual as the Emperor's Champion, declared by the chaplains. On the eve of battle, the Black Templars engage in prayer, fasting, and meditation, often leading one among them to receive a vision that reveals his duty and portents of the future. This battle brother then presents himself to the chaplains to confess his vision. If deemed true, he is proclaimed the Emperor's Champion. He undergoes a ritual preparation for the upcoming battle, being adorned in the armour of faith and bestowed with the Black Sword. In principle, each Black Templars crusade force has its own Emperor's Champion for the duration of a prolonged battle or campaign. However, in practice, each fighting company typically has one, with each battle often yielding its own champion if none has already emerged. It is customary for Black Templars serving with the Death Watch to pray and fast before a mission, mirroring their rituals prior to engagements within their own chapter. In exceedingly rare instances, a battle brother may feel the righteous conviction that compels him to assume the mantle of the Emperor's Champion. Within his chapter he would seek the chaplains to be declared as such, but this may not be feasible while serving the Long Watch. If a Black Templar's chaplain is not present to hear his confession, he must assume the role independently, donning the sacred relics of his chapter and declaring his mission to his brethren. He will request permission from the Master of the Armoury to bear the most potent weapons and revered armour into battle. Few would dare refuse, as the intensity of his duty burns in his eyes, and the weight of his oaths is almost tangible. Regardless of the nature of the mission ahead, the Emperor's Champion actively seeks out the greatest champions and leaders among the enemy forces, confronting them in furious single combat. In doing so, he becomes a radiant beacon of faith, driving the enemy back and inspiring the Emperor's warriors to ever greater acts of valor. The battle brother retains the title of Emperor's Champion until his vision is fulfilled, at which point he returns to the watch fortress. His duty is only discharged by the chaplain's decree, allowing him to resume his place within the ranks. In contrast to other chapters, an initiate within the Black Templars does not refer to a newly inducted Astartes, but rather is the rank held by the majority of battle brothers until they serve long enough to attain the esteemed status of a Sword Brethren veteran. Initiates fulfill most standard tactical roles typical of Space Marine chapters and are responsible for mentoring and training a neophyte until the latter earns initiate status. A neophyte in the Black Templars differs from those in other chapters, as they have already successfully undergone the transformation process into an Astartes by the time they achieve this rank. While this would typically grant them initiate status in Codex-compliant chapters in the Black Templars, it signifies that they are now ready to embark on their training. Each neophyte, once deemed worthy by the chapter's chaplains and apothecaries, is assigned to a full initiate as an apprentice, effectively serving as a squire. When the initiate believes that his charge has gained the necessary experience and wisdom to become an asset to the chapter, he promotes the neophyte to initiate status. The new initiate is then tasked with training his own neophyte, thus perpetuating the cycle. On the eve of battle, the Emperor's champion leads the Black Templars in renewing one of the 4 vows of the chapter, each one instilling these Astartes with righteous fury that is expressed on the battlefield in different ways. These vows include suffer not the unclean to live. The Black Templars swear to release their unclean foes, heretics, mutants, xenos and traitors, from the suffering of their lives, striking them down with great fury. Uphold the honor of the Emperor. The Black Templars uphold the Emperor's honor and face their enemies' attacks head-on rather than cower behind cover. Such is their indomitable faith that they can withstand attacks that would fell even other Astartes. Abhor the witch, destroy the witch. The Black Templars' hatred of the mutant and the warp drives them into a rage in battle. Should their enemies' ranks include a psyker, they will rush to vanquish them with renewed effort. Their hatred enhances their will, making them highly resistant to psychic abilities. Accept any challenge, no matter the odds. The Black Templars swear to answer any challenge, and should an opportunity present itself, they will always charge to meet their enemies in close combat. A Crusader squad represents the fundamental tactical unit utilized by the Black Templars chapter. Unlike many Codex Astartes-compliant chapters, the Black Templars are organized in a distinctive manner and often diverge from the guidelines set forth in the Codex, particularly concerning the recruitment, training and deployment of their warriors. The majority of battle brothers within the Black Templars, referred to as initiates, are structured into Crusader squads, which constitute the backbone of any strike force deployed by the chapter. Many of these squads are led into battle by a member of the chapter's Sword Brethren, veterans whose valor and exemplary conduct inspire the initiates to undertake increasingly courageous feats. Primarily armed with the sacred bolter, Crusader squads embody the Black Templars' preference for direct confrontation. Many warriors opt to carry chainswords and other weapons tailored for close combat, reflecting the chapter's righteous fervor and determination to vanquish their enemies in battle. Sons of Grimaldus. Chaplain Grimaldus ascended to legendary status during the Battle of Hellsreach, amidst the Third War for Armageddon in the year 998 of the 41st millennium. For over 60 solar days he valiantly commanded the defenders of the Temple of the Emperor Ascendant against an overwhelming horde of orcs. Ultimately, with the defenders isolated and vastly outnumbered, the temple succumbed. Miraculously, Grimaldus and a small contingent of Black Templars managed to survive. This small band vowed to avenge the noble warriors, both mortal and Astartes, who had fought and perished alongside them. As a result, other Black Templars rallied to their banner, and from that moment, the specialized formation within the chapter known as the Sons of Grimaldus began to relentlessly pursue the orcs across Armageddon, continuing the hunt even as the greenskins retreat into the depths of space. They will not rest until Gujkul Thraka and every orc under his command have been vanquished. The Sons of Grimaldus are currently led by Grimaldus himself and consist of one command squad, one squad of Sword Brethren Terminators, another squad of Sword Brethren equipped as Assault Terminators, 2 squads of Sword Brethren clad in standard power armor, and 5 full squads of Black Templar Astartes. Since the Black Templars lack a designated chapter homeworld, all recruitment is conducted through their chapter keeps. These keeps are established on most worlds conquered by the Black Templars, serving as both staging grounds for crusade forces and recruitment centers for the chapter. Typically, only a handful of individuals are recruited from each chapter keep in a single Terran year. Only the most capable aspirants are permitted to join the chapter. Upon passing the initial assessments, they undergo implantation with the gene seed organs that will ultimately transform them into full Space Marines and neophytes of the chapter. When approximately 24 neophytes have been approved by the Keep's Castellan, as well as the chapter's apothecaries and chaplains, they are dispatched to a crusade fleet for the next phase of their induction. Upon arrival at the crusade fleet, the neophytes are subjected to a series of demanding tasks and trials administered by the Black Templars initiates. These trials push the neophytes to their limits, allowing the stronger candidates to emerge while the weaker are weeded out. Unlike other Space Marine chapters, the Black Templars do not have a dedicated scout company for training aspirants. If a survivor from the trials impresses the assembled battle brothers, an initiate may choose to personally mentor the neophyte in the art of warfare. From that moment forward, the initiate assumes full responsibility for his pupil's training and conduct. He vows to prepare the neophyte for his initiation into the chapter, to impart knowledge of its history, and to guide him through its sacred rites of worship to the Emperor. In return, the neophyte pledges loyalty to his mentor and vows never to bring dishonor upon his name. Neophytes also serve as attendants to their mentors, attending to their needs at grand feasts and assisting with daily requirements. The chaplains of the crusade oversee this training, ensuring that the neophyte learns the chapter's history while monitoring for any signs of weakness in his faith. Neophytes accompany their initiates into battle, and if their mentor falls, another brother will assume responsibility for their training. The bond formed between the initiate and his neophyte is profound. Should the neophyte perish, the initiate vows a death oath to avenge his fallen apprentice or die in the attempt. It is the prerogative of the initiate to determine when his apprentice's training is complete. Once the neophyte has demonstrated his valor and skill, he submits to the chapter's chaplains for the final trials of purity. Following a ceremony of immense reverence, he is elevated to the status of a full battle brother, honored with a suit of power armor. At this moment he truly becomes a Black Templar, endowed with great power and sworn to wield it in the Emperor's service until death. The Black Templars' fervent aversion to mutants and the warp prohibits them from recruiting anyone exhibiting genetic impurities, including the mutation that permits an individual to wield psychic abilities. This explains the absence of librarians in the Black Templars' order of battle. Once accepted into a Crusade's fighting company, an initiate fights alongside his fellow Black Templar battle brothers, forging his reputation within the chapter and honing his combat skills. If he survives long enough, he will eventually take on a neophyte of his own. Thus, the chapter's skills, traditions and experiences are preserved and transmitted from master to neophyte. Initiates comprise the majority of the chapter's fighting companies and are organized into crusade squads of up to 20 members. Each squad forms a lethal force, equipped with a diverse array of skills and abilities. While initiates primarily wield bolters, many opt for weapons better suited for close combat, reflecting the Black Templars' preference for engaging enemies face-to-face. Some squad members may also carry specialized weaponry, such as plasma guns, flamers, or powerful power fists. Black Templar squads are highly adaptable, capable of responding effectively to a wide range of foes, and they instruct their neophytes through bloody example. On the battlefield, an initiate often stands shoulder to shoulder with his neophyte, teaching him the ways of bolter and blade through first-hand experience. In this manner, the neophyte learns the art of war and the means to destroy the Emperor's enemies. As previously mentioned, The Black Templars do not maintain a dedicated scout company for the training of their aspirants. Nevertheless, after gaining combat experience as part of a Crusader squad on multiple battlefields, it is common for groups of Black Templar neophytes to be assembled into independent units, similar to a Codex Chapter's scout squads or Vanguard Marines. These units are entrusted with tasks such as infiltrating enemy strongholds or executing other critical missions. The fact that a neophyte is given such responsibility speaks volumes about the confidence his initiate has in his capabilities, motivating the neophyte to fight with even greater fervor to avoid betraying that trust. As a fleet-based crusading chapter, the Black Templars require a steady influx of new recruits to replenish their ranks. They not only suffer significant losses in battles throughout the galaxy, but also experience high attrition rates among recruits during training. Despite these challenges, thousands of citizens across the Imperium aspire to join the Black Templars. Many have dedicated their formative years to preparation, sharpening their martial skills within their local planetary defense forces or even the Astra Militarum. Those brave individuals who express their intention to join the Black Templars are referred to as expectanten. These aspirants face a perilous journey before they can even attain the title of neophyte. One of the original training worlds for the Black Templars, where these aspirants can prove their worth to the chapter, is Barbarossa IV, a predominantly peaceful agri-world. However, the planet's northern regions are home to numerous dangerous native flora and fauna, providing an excellent training ground for aspirants. It is in these harsh surroundings that the Black Templars chapter keep is situated. Although the Black Templars have currently departed from the Jericho Reach, their battle brothers continue to serve within the ranks of the Death Watch, the militant arm of the Ordo Xenos. Among the esteemed heroes who have upheld their vigil from Watch Fortress Arioch, many hail from this chapter, though their names and heroic deeds remain documented solely in the archives of the Death Watch, accessible only to the most privileged. Black Templars are known for being formidable members of a kill team, but their fervent zeal can sometimes lead to friction with their comrades. Never one to shy away from a challenge, a Black Templar is often reluctant to withdraw from battle, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Missions that demand stealth and observation can become jeopardized. If a Black Templar battle brother chooses to engage an enemy, he should instead be monitoring from a distance. For this reason, only the most disciplined and open-minded Black Templars are assigned to the Death Watch. The mental strain of accommodating the diverse expressions of countless divergent chapter cults represented by their fellow battle brothers of the Long Watch is immense, and living and fighting alongside psychers, whether the detached librarians of other chapters or the psychically gifted inquisitors of the Ordo Xenos, will test the seconded Black Templars' faith and tolerance to their utmost limits. However, a Black Templar need not suppress his core nature to operate effectively within the Death Watch. In fact, on the battlefield, this very essence becomes his greatest asset, as his righteousness and fervor empower him to confront and overcome the most fearsome foes threatening the Imperium. The Black Templars continue to emulate the combat style of their first High Marshal, favoring close-quarters melee engagements over ranged warfare. This preference is further exemplified by the fervor of the Black Templars' initiates, whose righteous anger often drives them to be impulsive and headstrong. They charge into battle with relentless, focused aggression, shouting battle oaths as they carve through their enemies. Their intense hatred is particularly directed at Xenos Witchkin and rogue psychers, whom they seek to purge wherever they are encountered. In the course of their warfare, a Black Templars crusade typically employs two primary tactics. The first is orbital assault. The crusade utilizes drop pods and Thunderhawk gunships to execute a mass landing following a heavy bombardment from orbit. If enemy resistance remains strong after this initial strike, the Templars deploy their heavy armor to launch an armored spearhead against the weakest point in the enemy's defenses. In their unwavering dedication to the Emperor and their crusade, the Black Templars vow solemn oaths of faith and protection. It is customary for them to renew these oaths before battle, with each individual vow serving as a focal point for the specific aspects of the Battle Brothers' duties deemed essential for ensuring the overall success of the crusade. Given the Black Templars' profound distrust and loathing of the warp and anything associated with it, they categorically refused to permit librarians or any beings with psychic powers to fight alongside them, save for the Grey Knights. Every Black Templar harbours a deep-seated prejudice against all forms of psychers, which can create tensions between the chapter and various Imperial adepta that often employ sanctioned psychers, such as the Inquisition or certain regiments of the Astra Militarum. The Land Raider Crusader variant, an evolution of the standard Land Raider, was conceived by the Black Templars during the Garrulous Crusade to assist in the numerous sieges of hive cities necessary for reclaiming that hive world for the Emperor. As news of its effective design spread, many other chapters urged the tech priests of Mars to release the construction schematics for the Crusader. Ultimately, the Adeptus Mechanicus formally recognized the design in the 763rd year of the 39th millennium. However, this was largely a mere formality, as over three-quarters of the chapters had already successfully deployed Crusader-pattern Land Raiders in combat. The Land Raider Crusader serves as a line-breaking main battle tank, engineered and armed to crash through enemy formations and deliver its larger-than-usual cargo of Astartes directly into the heat of close combat. The Crusader is equipped with side-sponson-mounted hurricane bolters, a hull-mounted assault cannon, and a multi-melter. By substituting the side-sponson lascannon found in the original Land Raider design with bolters, the Land Raider Crusader sacrifices some anti-armor capabilities in favor of a marked increase in troop-carrying capacity. Additionally, it is fitted with frag assault launchers to help suppress the enemy unit under attack.